got me. Crap. Oh, yeah, the same setup as me.
They've got a monarch on the opposite side of the map from us, paper.
What are you doing over there?
I don't know what to think about this game right now. I have a guy going off, burning himself to death, running off into the desert. You have to ask yourself, does it have anything to do with the cars and the Spitfires that you see in the kill feed? I don't know, maybe. What do you guys think is going on with this game? Originally this video was going to talk about the meta, but the way I was going to address the meta was more so telling you about like all the newest things you want to be doing in this game if you want to be competing at the highest levels. But from the opening clip, I want you guys to see something because that's the kind of effect you have on other players. So this is where I end up in that weird conflict because I don't know if I really want to talk about really strong meta weapons and tactics if it's going to have that kind of effect on players. I was going to talk about car, I was going to talk about Spitfire, but one of the cool things about the meta is that you can also play the counter meta. And I was going to go over like lasering, no charge hack, just straight up one-shotting them. It actually plays against them if you can get good at the skill. I was also going to show you guys some cool things about my Ion, and it was really just about making you a lot better and a lot tougher on the battlefield. I'm pretty good at grabbing bullets and missiles, throwing them back at pilots, so like I died. And knowing even like the little things that if I can grab hit scan bullets, it makes it a lot easier for me to throw them back and kill pilots really quickly and then go right back to fighting Titans. Like those are some really strong things. I was going to actually show you guys some things about some fancy spots on the map that are really meta and really strong counter meta spots in order for you to counter people that like to camp. But as I was working on this meta video, I kind of stumbled upon something else, which is kind of what I want to cover. So this topic is going to overlap, and it's almost going to turn it also into a state of the game kind of video. So this is just going to be riddled with my opinion. But I want to start off by just stating a fact. The Titanfall numbers have been declining in the last couple of months. And there's a few easy things to point out of why. It's probably because Apex isn't doing too hot, like it still has a chance to get up there. But as of right now, since it isn't doing particularly well, it's not really attracting as many new players as it was before. I would say we probably have like a rotating door where you probably have 20% new players and 80% of the players are veterans. Which was interesting because when I was going to do this video, you also have to take into account your audience, right? Do I have to say newbie things or am I talking to veterans? And I think in this game, I'm probably talking to a lot of veterans. I believe the people that play this game like either exclusively or it's their top game, it's their primary game. So I know you guys know what's going on. Like this is kind of meta, right? Using a Ronin to one-shot pilots. Like I thought it was kind of funny. I was going to do my own Ronin video, but I thought it kind of suited this a lot more. Because it's so meta, because it's so good. But you could really say that most Titans are actually S tier. And I find that they become more S tier when they're surrounded by good support, which means a nice array of Titans. When you have really fast Titans grouped with Titans that stay more in the back, like a North Star, it makes it so they're not ready for the long shots and the weird angles because they're so focused about what's in front of them, which is another Titan that has a lot of dashes, can be super aggressive, and sometimes just appears in front of you. So it is a very scary Titan, but I think it has more to do with the teamwork and the coordination when it comes to Titans. So that would be more so like my meta talk that I was having, but then again, I'm also like, I am just like, well, sometimes I'm one-shotting them, sometimes I can't aim and then I just hack and slash. But I still feel like, well, how do you approach this? This is meta, and the thing is that you can only approach it so many ways because this game has absolutely no support. No support at all. Yeah, now we're kind of getting into the role of it. So you can't say it's overpowered because nothing's going to change, so what's the point? Then you're just bickering. If you just embrace it, then a good thing to do is probably just go into Dinosaur's videos and figure out how to do all those fancy little tricks, which is actually what I was planning on doing. Because I'm wondering, how do you do that reload cancellation? I'm not sure how to do it. And I think there's a couple of other tricks. I like things like phase dashing over big gaps, getting onto the bridge if you really want. I think that's a lot cooler with North Star. I've seen somebody on top of the tower. I have no idea how to get onto the top of the tower. But I think things like that are things that you would like to know. if we were just going to be talking about strategy. But then I end up with the flashbacks from the first clip where we have a guy running off into the desert and would rather just leave this game behind. Who burns themselves? Really committed people to a cause. That's called what? Emulation or something like that? It's when people burn themselves in protest for something. And that guy right there was protesting cars, Spitfires, probably matchmaking, whatever kind of wizardry goes in the back. Like, this guy was just like, this game sucks on so many levels. And he'd rather just get this over with so he can move on. And am I somebody who's pushing him more so towards that revolving door where he can just leave the game entirely? I don't know how to approach this game because of the low population. It really changes the way that I do things. Like, I'd made a big dive into just original content in the way that I was just like making stuff up and trying to make the game interesting without actually just talking about the game. Which for me was actually really good for me to develop a better style and just learn a little bit more about commentating, because it's more than just saying what's in front of you, because that's really what I used to do. That is my roots, guys. Like, for you who have been following me for a long time, I used to practically just commentate decision making from start to finish, which to me is really interesting. Like, I would love to cast like StarCraft games and stuff like that. Like, I love talking strategy and casting and trying to like get into the head of why they did this, or just identifying really like important points in a game or decision making and things like that. But I always found that can get a little bit boring, especially when a game starts getting older, right? Because at a certain point you've kind of heard it all. So it's nice to put a good spin on it. Or if you are going to show somebody something, then I think it's nice to take a more in-depth look. That's why I like the theme videos, so I can really talk about one subject. So we're going to be doing more of that, more of this, and I think I'm just ranting today. I'm kind of ranting because I wasn't sure what to do with this video, because when I had a specific vision, but I knew it wasn't quite going to turn out, because even though like I could have done the episode and just stuck to the script, I know to me it wouldn't feel right. Yeah, they're at 3:30. I used Ronin, which I hardly ever use. I was actually going to go look at Dinosaur's video because I wanted to see more about those. I know that there's a reload cancel. Like, those are really meta things. Like, if you know these things, well, I guess they're not meta because a lot of people don't use them, but you know the people that are. And part of the meta was just being really hardcore, because I think that's what the current meta is. It's just playing really hardcore. But again, that's not really the message that I like to push in my videos. So let me just give you a little story. When I was in university, I stayed late one day, and then I ended up popping into the Agora, which is the main building to the university. And at that time, all of a sudden there was this like game night set up for like the residency people. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And they're like, anybody can just, like hang out. I'm like, awesome. Yeah, I'll spend some time here. And they had set up one of those, is it jousting, or they had set up one of these inflatable like rings, and there were 2 pedestals, and it was like American Gladiator style, and it had the like the batons with like the 2 like soft ends on it, and you would hit each other, right? You have the helmet and all that stuff. But the way that they did it was that they based it on weight, and I was pretty light at that time. I think I was like 158 or something like that, maybe 160. Like, I had really trimmed down because I was skateboarding a lot. Now I'm just telling you about my life. But anyways, I ended up getting matched up against a girl because she was on the lower weight division. And I'm like, oh, great, because obviously I'm not just going to rock her off this thing. So I'm like, all right, I'll take it easy. But from the time the match began, like, she was going all out because she thought it was even, and I felt a little bit overpowered. Like, that's just the way it is, right? Like, I knew I was going to be stronger there. But this girl just started wailing on me. Like, she hit me so hard at one point while I was just kind of, like, hitting her in the leg that my, like, helmet started to, like, rotate. So I was having that, like, problem seeing. And I'm like, okay, well, this is getting pretty serious now. So yeah, like I just hit her like in the torso, and she ended up going down. Like, she didn't have the greatest balance. I guess it does kind of become relevant that I skateboard because my balance is good, so I wasn't like overly concerned about it. But when she started hitting me in the dome and turning the helmet, I was like, okay, well, if I can't see, it's gonna make things difficult. If I wanted to counter it, I guess I could go meta as well and try to spin her helmet. That move seems to be pretty efficient. Is that what everybody after me is gonna do? It's like, probably not, because these people have to live together. So if you haven't caught on by now, it's an analogy of how the Titanfall community is because it's so small. Boom. Do with that what you will. Again, thank you all for joining me though. I'm Paper. Cut to you, and I'll see you all next time.